Welcome everybody to the Genesis Mindset. So the Great DAIbate of pDAI to $1 has been raging on Pulsechain, obviously now for weeks really. So there's really a lot of people that are determined to make it work, while others have really just given up and moved on. So today, community devs, Cattie and Surfacing will be joining me to help us understand the Maker protocol, how we can build around Maker. So we'll be discussing the community's focus of joy to zero, whether this is the right solution, the kind of solutions that we can propose, and then also potentially revealing the 5996 wallets, one of the exploiter wallets, identities. So we do have some information on that as well. So with that, John, Cattie, how are we?
Doing pretty good.
Doing good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, stressful week for all, I think. So as we discussed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up, first of all, just some of these video clips from Richard, so the founder of Pulsechain. So we want to really start this with the right kind of spirit. So the link is in the description for anyone who does want to join and ask questions as well. So you're more than welcome to join. So I've just got a few little clips here. And of course, disclaimer, the full disclaimer, Pulsechain disclaimer, you must have no expectations of profit from the work of others. So the full disclaimer is in the description. So we're going in the spirit of this disclaimer for this particular stream as well. So first, let's have a listen to what Rich is talking about with Hexologist here.
Like, if you want to make the world a better place and you don't like the existing power structures and you think the banksters and the VCs don't really have your best interests at heart, it's nice to be part of a community we've built everything from scratch.
Right, yeah.
You weren't a YouTuber.
Nope.
You became a YouTuber for Hex.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And like that, same with Crypto Coffee and everybody else.
Yeah.
Big K, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody
we did it
from scratch.
Pump our own bags, but it helped. Like,
right.
That's why not, and there was an incentive of referrals, but now there isn't, and people are still doing it because they're like,
you want price go?
Yeah, hey,
I do.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. The best way to do it is to get the word out there. And I think that they've, we've all figured that out. That it's like, why not?
I sure hope our audio lovers are still looking good.
So obviously they're more from the perspective of influencer space, but still it's all about building together, right? So one of Richard's key focuses is making the world a better place. So I might actually mute my microphone when I play these two little next clips.
Some people with bad English ask the worst questions, man. There is no Pulsechain on MetaMask.
I think that's the wrong clip, sorry. I'll go to the next one. So this one here, like this, neither of you have seen this one. This was a really, really good stream. So Peter McCormack just came on, just jumped in the stream and just started ripping into Richard while he's trying to present Hex, but really capturing, it's not really about that, but you can really see the kind of character that Richard is. So
you want the world to be a better place, you have to build that better place. I think if you want to disturb finance, I think if you want to replace banks, you have to replace their products. And no one's doing a time deposit. Bitcoin's not trying and can't. Nothing else is trying. So if someone wants to replace the time deposit, someone has to build it. So I built it. And then if you build a better thing, doesn't mean anyone's going to use it. So you need all these pumpamentals and game theory to onboard users to actually build it.
When are you getting your Nobel Peace Prize?
I don't
Richard Hart, Nobel Peace Prize.
I don't think the Peace Prize would be given out for a financial product, but
do you think you'll get the Economics Prize? Bitcoin
maybe.
Hex.
Yeah, actually, maybe.
Richard Hart, Nobel Prize for Economics, Richard Hart for Bitcoin Hex.
Yeah, why not? I don't know why you keep calling it Bitcoin Hex.
What a dick. Like, what a dick. He did that for the whole stream. He just trolled the shit out of him for the whole stream. And then he mentioned him maybe sometime last year. He's like, oh, how was that Hex doing? And he was like, his whole attitude and his demeanor was completely different because Hex did a 10,000x and he was totally completely wrong. So But the way that Richard conducted himself there, I thought was really admirable. And it kind of really shows the two types of spirits that are operating within Pulsechain at the moment as well, I feel. So before we get into that, I guess we can just quickly answer some of these questions here from the community. So the main one here that I picked up was from Bud, because I know I've seen you ask this one before, Bud. So Surfacing, you were saying that this was because the reason why there's less maker on Ethereum since Pulsechain's launch is because they've burnt some. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so they could have either burned it through an executive spell or just through their surplus auctions when they auction off surplus stack.
Yeah, so flap auctions essentially allow you to burn your DAI, burn your maker and acquire more DAI when the system is in surplus, because obviously a lot of focus on Pulsechain has been on flop auctions, because we do have a huge DAI supply and system deficits. So that's when you burn your DAI for maker. But if you happen to have more surplus, you can auction the DAI for the maker. So people can burn their maker. And since Pulsechain has launched, Ethereum had flap auctions, and might have also been an executive spell. We cannot tell you exactly which transaction that was done on right now, but after the stream, we can for sure find it and share it with community if you're interested.
No problem. Okay. All right. Awesome. So now let's go into Rune Christensen. So Rune Christensen is co-founder of MakerDAO and former CEO of Maker Foundation. So he did a little post. This was 4 years ago. So hello everyone. I'm Rune, and used to be the #1 ship poster and full-time community manager on this subreddit back many years ago, when it was the main place for long-form discussion and decision-making in the Maker community. I recently left the Maker Foundation after it fulfilled its mission and began the last stage of complete dissolution. And following that, I posted the case for clean money on the Maker forum, which is my take on the path the Maker community should take going forward to stay true to its original values while charging ahead at the forefront of DeFi and bring the wonders of this movement to the mainstream. You can check out the very long post here. You can also listen to this. So also going to put a little wall of text. So the overarching idea is split into 3 parts. So first, I believe MakerDAO needs a clear vision that can turn it into a purpose-driven DAO and help the community to set aside their differences and instead just collaborate to produce results. There's no better or more suitable purpose for a world currency than trying to fix the catastrophic damage the financial system is right now doing to itself. And with the tariffs going on, I mean, this is really more relevant than ever. So DeFi, and especially a decentralized stablecoin, is the perfect coordination tool to help humanity try to overcome this self-destructive tendency caused by excessive short-term thinking. This is not just a charity case. And hey, I mean, yeah, the excessive short-term thinking, I mean, if we look at even in what's happened in Pulsechain today, I mean, the launch of Maddie's pDAI, the good pDAI, I mean, the short-term thinking, I mean, people don't even wait for a daily close, and the chart's been just absolutely savagely dumped. The new teddy bear is looking a little bit better, but the short-term thinking is really, it's all pervasive. So this is not just a charity case. I believe this is also the most self-interested and profitable path for the Maker community and Maker holders to take, as it will provide the greatest amount of attention and branding amongst regular people in the real world. So Tesla is a good example of how well this can work in practice. Political resilience, as climate is increasingly becoming the #1 political issue in many countries, but also the massive changes that will happen to the world because of climate change are undeniable, and being able to tap into climate alpha, which will determine which assets will be valuable in the future and which ones will become stranded, is critical in order to create a currency that will hold up and even thrive when the consequences of climate change finally cause the dominoes to begin to fall for real. So anything that either of you would like to say on that before I go to points 2 and 3?
Yeah, so a lot of with point 1, like essentially is trying to say that we need a stronger community to, better make this a decentralized process. And people need to put aside that their differences and collaborate together to create something better. And that's like the, I feel like his main takeaway there, kind of thing. So we don't have like one centralized, because like the current problem with like the financial system is that it's centralized and it's controlled by a single entity, and that is causing a lot of hardship in the entire world. And I mean, it's kind of why Bitcoin was created in the first place, to break away from that centralized control. And he's trying to, relay that same message within the maker community as well.
Yeah, good comments. Really, really good comments. So, and we've tapped into a lot of the philosophy around this as well on some previous streams. Bud's definitely had some really good points as well. So, and Money Gang, we will get to those. We will get to those questions, because I also I've probably asked those questions many times myself, but I need to keep hearing the same answer again. So it'll be good to hear. It'll be good to hear some different perspectives. So point number 2, to really tap into the value and potential of the clean money vision, I propose a new set of very aggressive tokenomic upgrades, including issuing a lot of Maker and using it for growth, such as providing profitable yield farming to Ethereum Vault users, where the DAO distributes Maker, but gets even more cash income in return that can then power the tokenomics and benefit of holding Maker. So the other key aspect is to provide every attractive direct benefits to long-term Maker holders through a system called the Sagittarius engine that will enable Maker holders to lock up their Maker. The goal is to encourage Maker holders to lock up their Maker for long term, so we can use aggressive tokenomics to target some ambitious goals. So overall, I believe this will massively increase the value of current Maker holders today, including myself, especially if we combine it convincingly with the clean money vision. So really trying to incentivize staking and long-term holding.
And also, it's actually very relevant. And some of the things that have been shared about other protocols being built around Maker is very relevant. And for the long-term vision of pDAI, they will be needed, because those tokenomic upgrades actually allow for true decentralization. And the one way you can achieve it is by having Maker locked up in different protocols. As you probably know, Maker on Ethereum operates on delegate basis, and delegates are allowed to vote for the Maker proposals. They are in charge, and that makes the system not entirely decentralized, because delegate bribery is a thing. And true decentralization allows that to stop, basically. If everyone from the community is able to hold Maker and stake Maker in a yield farm, they will be earning yield, as well as having different communities responsible for voting decisions. And by saying different communities being responsible, I don't mean that a single person will be using that Maker to vote. I mean that different protocols that have their own governance can have their governance choose whether they support it or not, essentially increasing the amount of power that's put into votes, people's power.
Interesting. And those sorts of things were forked, but obviously not operational, but can be on Pulsechain.
It can be, because there are many independent communities on Pulsechain, and not as much corporate things going on as well. Since the chain's goal is to be truly decentralized, just as the disclaimers and the vision say, that initially there are no admin keys given out for anyone. However, community is allowed to generate their own keys, and essentially this works in a decentralized fashion. So that's why Pulsechain is a place where this can work.
Okay, so maybe before we get to that third point, then I guess that kind of comes to what Money Gang Crypto is asking here. So we still believe people can actually get enough maker to win the vote. So he's saying, ask your guests where the transactions are at. So 5996 making votes before PLS launch is BS. So what have you guys uncovered in terms of the 5996 in relation to this particular question?
Actually, a lot of people speculate that 5996 has been making votes before Pulse launch, but we did not see those transactions by 5996 specifically. I've heard there was something going on with 877 testing Maker before the Pulsechain launch, and people claim that 877 could be related to 5996 because of their style of coding and the contracts they use. However, there is no direct evidence that 877 is 5996. Yes, their style of coding is similar and the contracts they use are similar as well. Even unverified contracts, actually, I mean, he does copy a lot of contracts from other protocols. He has even deployed the DSS Autopause contract himself on another wallet and has tried to use it.
The Autoline.
Yeah, the Autoline.
Okay, so from your perspective, then it's really just pure speculation that the 5996 cast any votes before Pulsechain launched.
I mean, the thing with that is they might be the same person, but there's no direct on-chain evidence that
Gotcha.
it is.
So yeah, speculation.
Okay, all right, because that's kind of been a big part of the belief around pDAI, hasn't it?
We think so, yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that question, Money Gang. And all right, let's keep moving forward. So good morning. Let's keep mogging. Good on you, Peasy. So all right, an overall of the governance process and mechanisms that build on top of all of what already exists, but improves it and makes it more transparent and efficient. And this is really at the core of what the both of you are really trying to emphasize. I think a lot of this idea of improving it and making it more transparent and efficient in a decentralized way. I think on this subreddit, we often see a lot of frustration with the lack of transparency around the budgets going to the core units. As regular maker holders, it often feels like it's just a black hole sucking up value and providing any sort of benefit in return. In reality, there's a huge amount of value being created, especially now as the core units have started to really hit their stride. But there's no denying that it is absolutely critical that maker holders are in charge. Maker governance needs to be by maker holders for maker holders. And while we need to increase the resources and budgets that are provided to core units a lot more, this needs to be done in the context of systematically ensuring that all work that is done is clearly providing a positive ROI, and this is communicated clearly and transparently upfront before any work is done, with professionals following up and helping the community to continuously assess whether the work that is being done is actually providing tangible value. Damn, bro doesn't know how to use a full stop. So the community can cut off projects that aren't delivering and redirect value to the core units that are providing the best value return. So in other words, too long didn't read version is basically making it more transparent and efficient with more ROI.
Yes. And actually, I think right now it would be relevant to show the graphic that I have created.
The one that you sent?
Yes, the one that I've sent you, which is essentially, we feel like community's main interest is to see pDAI at $1. That's what everyone is looking after. And given all the, I would say, social circumstances that we have, and Rune's vision with MakerDAO, Richard emphasizing of the work of people, on the work of his community, and him mentioning that he wants to encourage the community to build in order to grow. That means that any builder is welcome to build stuff for pDAI to succeed, or not only pDAI, it can be building around other lending protocols that we have in here. And as I've always emphasized, if 5996 or whoever that person is wants to build, he is welcome to build, and everything he makes will be relevant and definitely useful for the future. However, for the immediate pDAI plan on how it will hit the parity and get over-collateralized, we can have this scenario happening, which essentially will ensure that pDAI will hit $1 and also get over-collateralized while the users engage with it. Just like the main vision that everyone is doing some work together and we all hit the peg together based on how we interact with the protocol. So the way we see this happening is the first step has to happen. So pDAI enters a deflationary period and users start burning their DAI for maker and flop auctions. So as we know, pDAI has currently around 25 billion of supply, and none of it is sufficiently collateralized. That means that in order to reach peg and over collateralize everything right now, somebody would have to come in and put over $35 billion just to make it hit peg and collateralize it. So
okay,
I do appreciate those people who believe in things, because we all have to believe in something, and believing is belief has always led people to light. And however, we have to be realistic at the same time, because I do not think that somebody would come in with $40 billion and essentially just give this money to the community because that's what it would require. However, in process, as we are getting close to peg, if somebody wishes to help accelerate, it will happen. And with 25 billion of supply, essentially we calculated that we need to reduce it by 20 billion approximately in order to go back to the 5 billion that the chain was forked with. And then collateralizing it and bringing it to peg requires way less than 10 billion. And if users are working for it in process, all this external capital is not fully needed. It can be used to support the journey, but it doesn't need to cover for everything. And as the supply gets reduced, maker staking incentives are welcome to be built. And users should be able to stake their maker for yield in different protocols, which was in lines with what Rune's Reddit said. So different protocols are welcome to offer maker staking opportunities. And that yield can allow users to acquire more DAI and burn that DAI for maker again. So essentially you have some ROI mechanism kicking in as well, because you will increase your maker stash and at the same time burn more DAI. So that's why it's very useful and good if we have those protocols providing utility for staking maker for some sort of yield. And the more the better, because that means we can have more of those DAI deflationary ROI loops going on for the users.
So obviously this is all happening. It's not like we achieve point 1 and then it's moving on to point 2. Like this is all happening somewhat in conjunction with itself. Is that right?
Yes, you are correct here. And it means that everything else is happening while the maker is in deflationary period. We don't have to contract all the we don't have to deflate all the supply before we start number 2. Number 2 can be started pretty much immediately when this happens, when the first maker is acquired.
Okay, gotcha.
It takes a lot of builders and a lot of work.
Okay, so obviously it's going to take a lot of devs to put their hearts and minds together to achieve this.
Yes.
Okay, but then still, what about the 5996? So obviously the debate still is whether they're a benevolent or a malevolent actor. So does this scenario all play out? Like, can it work if they're a bad actor, and can it work if they're a good actor, or does it only work under one?
This scenario doesn't even depend on them being a good or bad actor, because so 2 things from that. If he is building protocols that provide maker staking opportunities, his protocols can very well be used for this deflationary period. If he is going to deploy protocols that allow users to stake their maker, users can stake their maker in the protocols he deploys. So essentially, if they're a good actor, none of this is going against what he's building. However, if he turns out to be a bad actor and starts trying to exploit these protocols, that is kind of like a red hat action for these protocols, because everyone and all the builders need to be alert of the potential vulnerable points in their tech. So in that case, we just have to get devs to build to prevent exploitability.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is, whether they're a bad actor or a good actor, executing this plan in this manner is going to work anyway. If they're a bad actor, it's just going to, in a way, he's even going to help, or he or she is even going to help by helping the community of devs who are building this to be able to see and understand the exploits along the way, and to like build preventative measures against that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know if your protocol is exploitable until it is exploited.
Okay, all right. And then obviously if he's a good actor, then it's going to make the process more seamless, because they can actually help build it along the way, right?
Yes, exactly. It's just going to make everything easier, even more so if he's willing to burn his DAI that he has minted before. So if he is a good actor, he will just make this process happen faster.
I like this. I like this perspective twist. This is really like, whether it's a good person or a bad person, it doesn't matter, because we still reach the goal. We can still reach the goal regardless, is basically what you're saying, to summarize what you're saying so far.
Yeah, yes. Totally.
Okay. All right. That's very, very, very important to understand, particularly for the haters. So, okay. So let's go to the next point. So we were up to point number 3, I believe. So, and I cut you off there. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It's nice to cover some points instead of covering everything together. But when it comes to point 4, it means that when enough supply is burned, and pDAI is at $1, that's when over-collateralization can start. So the holders of DAI should be incentivized to stake the DAI they wish to hold in other protocols for yield as well, and use that yield for opening new over-collateralized maker vaults and acquire more DAI, essentially offering another opportunity to ROI while they are over-collateralizing. pDAI.
And even other external protocols that offer something for pDAI, like let's say an NFT marketplace that takes pDAI as the the money input or whatever and burns it, also helps because it deflates the supply as well.
Yes,
So,
and
because you were
so
mentioning,
yes.
sorry, just
Continue,
one
Steve.
question. Because you were mentioning, obviously we're in the 20 billion. So what are we? Where it fluctuates from like 20, I think it's like 25-ish billion, right? So we want to bring that down. So is this something where people are going to have to sacrifice their DAI? Like how are people going to be incentivized to want to do that with their DAI? I mean, we obviously have like in Atropa, there's 3 billion pDAI in that liquidity pool with the Atropa that's burnt. So that's 75% of the 5 billion that we want to get it down to. So how realistically, like maybe help me wrap my mind around that a little bit better. Still a little bit unclear.
So first important point is that it's not the DAI itself that is burned, it's the liquidity tokens that are burned.
Right, in that in the Atropa pair. So that pDAI is still always on the market. So that, yeah, you're right in saying that 75% is there already. And like the rest of the pDAI will need to be deflated, needs to be burned. So like even a sacrifice in a way wouldn't necessarily be necessary if, like, let's say you get an NFT in exchange for that, for example, and you can either flip the NFT or do something else with it in that regard.
Or essentially, we already mentioned potential for 2 ROI loops on this plan, so you don't even need an external NFT, because I actually personally disagree about NFTs being a good call here.
It's just an example.
It's just an example, because when it comes to like NFT collections, it's somebody getting the token that you pay for that NFT that can choose to do whatever they want with it. But for users that don't wish to engage with NFTs, essentially, initially, they will need to sacrifice their DAI for Maker. However, later, as they stake that Maker, they will be able to get the DAI back if they wish. And then they can acquire more Maker, stake it, get more DAI from it, and no matter what the reward is, as long as the reward is from a protocol that has some liquidity bonding with pDAI, they can always sell their rewards for more DAI. So of course, if those pools directly offer DAI, that will be easier. That means that selling your reward for DAI won't be needed. However, entering this ROI loop, I'm not sure how much the community is familiar with that, but essentially it's just compounding your rewards. And you can either be incentivized to compound it manually, or somebody can provide an opportunity for you to compound into more DAI and essentially more Maker that's used for staking. And then eventually the second loop, where you already have your DAI bag that's sitting and you just stake it somewhere, that allows you to acquire more yield and use it for opening new over-collateralized vaults, is both financially profitable for the user to sacrifice their initial DAI, as well as healthy in recovering the Maker protocol.
Okay, so go on, sorry.
And then we get to the final point, unless you wanted to ask something about the point before.
No, keep going. We'll get to the final point.
Yes, so and then the final point obviously is when pDAI is sufficiently over-collateralized and we have the new vaults that cover for the DAI supply. That's when people are welcome to claim their delayed gratification reward. because that means that we have all successfully reached this journey together, and everyone has put in the work by compounding or just by sacrificing their DAI for Maker. And that's when people can feel safe to cash out without crashing the DAI price down, which is also something that I wanted to cover in this stream, because with Maker protocol working as it is right now, even if we hit $1 mark, because there are no collateral vaults open to be bought with cheap pDAI, that means that we cannot retain that peg. That means that anyone selling upon pDAI hitting $1 will just crash the price right back down without any incentives for recovery.
I'm so glad that you said that, because this has been like one of the big points of contentions, and it's been something that I've observed as well. It just didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense for it to, like, there needs to be enough liquidity there to support everyone being able to take out from it. That's the thing. If there's not enough liquidity there to support that, then the whole system collapses. So I know that this has been a big point of contention. So basically what you're proposing is some kind of delayed gratification system where people can have the long-term mindset, and it's probably going to be something where it's driven more by big holders, but anyone can contribute to that. And then at the end of the road, they can swap that back into their DAI and then take out of the system in that way when things are more stabilized.
Yes. So
Okay.
I was also thinking about what would be needed to maintain that peg without Maker working, and it would essentially require someone that is just providing collateral in USDT style, like just straight up buying that DAI off the market to push it back to peg for all the exits happening. And obviously, even if there was a pot as such, eventually it would run out.
Yes, right. So then I guess it brings me to this question here. So AOKG is asking, so what's the goal peak and how much money will it take to actually get there? So I don't know what he means by the goal peak.
I think he probably means target supply at peg. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, if the current supply stays as it is, which it won't, the monetary value to go into it to get to peg and pretty much make the system equal again would be like 40 billion, which is a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, the supply will go down with the flop auctions, because then there'll be that feedback loop of getting more Maker and burning pDAI.
And also this heavily depends on how much people want to engage with protocol, how much DAI they want to burn, how much people coming creating incentives for Maker we have. And for example, if the target supply is at 5 billion, that means that we would need around 7 billion to over collateralize it, and plus the capital needed to push the price to peg. So yeah, that would be around 8 billion, but that already, let's be real, sounds more realistic than 40, even if somebody did provide that. And the thing is that by us having those ROI into collateralization loops, that also means that it does not have to come from external capital. Not all of it has to come from external capital being injected into the system. It can just come directly from the users themselves. So the actual sum of external capital needed can go down to 3 to 1 billion, which is a lot more realistic, depending on how much users engage with it. I actually personally see 5 billion as a good goal for target supply, because it's realistic to achieve.
It is realistic, yeah.
Okay. And then obviously, the time frames are impossible to predict because we don't even really know where the cryptocurrency market is at in terms of everything that's going on in the world. But whether if something like this is to work and it gives us the freedom and the sovereignty, then if it takes 1 cycle or 2 cycles or 3 cycles, I've always been totally okay with that. So this question here from Maddie. So what about Atropa? So leaving that out of the equation, Atropa is a stabilizer itself. So I'm assuming Maddie is asking about Atropa token, or the Atropa ecosystem rather, being the stabilizer for the peg. And I'm assuming he's referencing that in the context of BFF. So what Maria was trying to do with BFF was when it got to the 8K mark, then burn supply and chuck the rest into liquidity to kind of stabilize the price there. I'm assuming that's what Maddie means with this. But I guess if I can maybe just have a guess at that before you guys answer that, is obviously the thing that's going to make that difficult is if there's no burn mechanism to actually burn the tokens, then we're going to still need so much liquidity to actually make that possible. So that's kind of
actually I would say that it's more not about the burning aspect, because anyone can create an incentive to just burn DAI. However, maker is needed to mint DAI to make the supply elastic, and if we go externally, that means that we cannot open new vaults for DAI.
pDAI.
Yeah, for pDAI. Specifically, because one thing that's very important for algo stables is having elastic supply. So leaving maker out of the equation restricts that opportunity. Basically, DAI can only be burned, but it cannot be minted and new vaults to be opened that are over collateralized and healthy.
Gotcha.
But
yeah,
I mean, whole, stabilization aspect of it. I mean, there's a lot of pDAI Atropa liquidity. Does make sense in a way. It also kind of works against us when going to peg, because we'll need even more capital to push it up to peg.
And yeah,
but
and I know
in the LP with Atropa can be bought off the market, because it's not the DAI that is burned, it's the LP tokens that are burned. So that DAI is sitting in the LP that is available to be bought off the market.
And so good morning for you, Bud. Welcome to the stage.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. How are you guys this morning?
Yeah, pretty good.
So I've got a question real quick
really
about
you
talked about using NFTs. So step one with the pDAI pump, if you were to take like a encapsulated T-share, like what Alex created through the ICASA system, what would it take to be able to get the protocol to be able to read the value of the encapsulated stake, like the value of a T-share, and then be able to use that NFT as collateral to inside the maker, so that this does a couple things. The first thing is it incentivizes people in the Hex community to continue to participate in the staking of Hex, right? And then it liquefies your T-share by you being able to lock that up inside the maker, right? At 150% collateral. But once you do that, like the value of the T-share will rise and fall over time. So the system has to be able to read the value of the T-share inside that HSI, right? Is that possible? Is that tech? Is it is it in front of us?
Yeah. So like if I'm understanding correctly, like let's for example, you have an NFT and you sink 20 million pDAI into the NFT itself. the NFT can track that balance of pDAI, and consequently, and at the same time, it can burn that pDAI as well, but it can also track that balance that was used to purchase that NFT. So you say to have the NFT will have a balance of 20 million pDAI, and it can essentially, it could be used as like a collateral in a way to open up either new vaults and stuff like that later on. But yeah, it would just essentially track it.
And same goes for
T-shares.
T-shares, because Oracle.
He was talking about T-shares.
Yes, so obviously T-shares can be implemented as a new type of collateral that is accepted to open maker vaults, and
That's a cool
the prices for that can be tracked with the
oracles,
yes.
So then, when you put, I'm sorry, when you put your T-shares into the collateral, right, the value could rise over time. So like the minimum threshold is 150%. Well, if the value of Hex goes up and the value of the T-share goes up, then your underlying collateral on the pDAI that you minted, like it could go to 300, 400, which would allow you inside your own vault to continue to mint pDAI. This gives you the ability to liquefy a T-share into a stable coin, right?
Yes,
but you never sell down the Hex price.
And also, if the value of T-share goes up, then it's definitely worth for you to be repaying that DAI into that vault to claim that T-share back.
Yep. Or you can take out more DAI. In that matter.
Right. So this solves the problem of, the inflation killing of Hex when the OA staked everything. Right, because right now, like the inflation, there's no reward, right? So why would you lock up inside of this T-share system? But if you have now, like native stakes, this won't work because, as far as I know, currently you can't take a native stake and then encapsulate it and move it. But in that icosahedron system that Alex built, and they're already using this in the actuator system, where they're taking T-shares and put them in NFTs through these encapsulated stakes. So through a governance change in the MakerDAO, you could allow for a T-share to be the underlying collateral, which then takes Hex into basically like the SDR of the entirety of the system.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the SDR mean? Sorry, Bob.
It was an original proposal. It's like when you go back to old economics, it was going to be when they were going to remove the dollar as the world's reserve currency, the SDR was going to be the underlying asset that backed everything. So this would just take the T-share and make it the underlying value for the entirety of the system.
That's a really cool idea. That's a really cool idea. It solves that issue that we've addressed on previous streams as well, Bud. It would really incentivize people to not become perpetual dumpers. It would incentivize them to want to liquefy their T-shares and borrow against it. Like, why would you want to lose your T-shares? Your T-shares become like gold that you'd want to hold on to forever.
Well, and as this system grows, right, you're going to need more and more liquidity, right? Like whatever the number is at 25 billion pDAI, that's not significant enough. So you need people to create different vaults and create more liquidity, right? But the only way to solve this is to have a stable collateral. And if you're able to lock up the CD, right, of a T-share inside the Maker protocol, then the community can continue to increase the liquidity of the system while liquefying, while enjoying, without creating sell pressure and dumping the whole system.
I love it. That's an awesome
Can that be done, and what would it take to get it done?
Well, first it would take us getting to peg so that we can then open up collateral systems. But then after that, like, it's not too hard to add a collateral.
Can pretty
to
much be done
the system
immediately.
through a vote. Yeah.
The only thing is that it's only efficient to start collateralizing pDAI once pDAI hits $1. So we have to deflate the supply enough, but that doesn't mean that we need all of it to be over collateralized already, because this can be used as a starter to over collateralization. So it's actually not even that much capital needed once the supply has reduced.
So how come? So there was maybe last week sometime there was some news that emerged that there was like the ilks. There was all these different types of collateral types that were added to the ilks. You couldn't. Is this something different now that we're talking about with the encapsulated Hex T-share stakes?
No,
it'll be its own ilk.
Yes, it's just adding another ilk. So as you know, on Ethereum, they have been constantly adding new types of collateral, removing the old collateral as well, and it's
just based on market conditions.
Based on market conditions.
Okay. So why then do we need to wait for it to get to $1 to do that?
Because when you put collateral in, you're going to be able to mint pDAI essentially, and it doesn't make sense to be able to take out more debt if there's already a whole bunch of debt in the system. We need to clean up the debt first before more debt can be taken out, kind of thing.
And also, if you open new vaults and mint pDAI when pDAI is below $1, eventually, as pDAI price increases, your vault will get liquidated because there will be insufficient collateral in there. So it would cause a loop into more bad debt coming with it. So that's why it's only worth to do that when pDAI is at $1 and
and also above. The opposite is true too. Like if the value of pDAI goes down, then you'll be able to take out more pDAI and dump it, effectively just shorting it to oblivion.
So in this scenario, if you had an encapsulated hex stake as collateral, and your value of your vault fell below 150%, then that T-share would get auctioned off, right?
Yes.
That encapsulated, and then people would be able to step in and purchase that without even going, like, it would stay in the form of a T-share. It would just allow people to step in and purchase that NFT, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
With
exactly.
DAI, they would have to burn their DAI to get that T-share, and
then they can do whatever they want.
Then they can do whatever they want with it.
There you go, Hex community, problem solved. Calm down.
Yeah, and I'm really feeling very optimistic about this, the 5996. I mean, the way that you guys are proposing whatever. So so can we just address the. Obviously, there was a big debate in Maker about how things could get proposed and the casting of the spell. So the way that you guys are talking about it sounds like whether or not this extractor is a bad actor or a good actor, it can still work. Now, in the other proposal that is being proposed, if the extractor is a bad actor or a good actor, does it still have the same outcome, or can it be catastrophic with the other outcome, with the other spell?
I'm sorry, I want to just clarify, what are you talking about exactly? Which scenario?
Okay,
which of the spell, I guess, is there?
Sure. So I honestly, I'm not too versed on it, but I know that there was a big debate, and this is where you first came onto the scene, where there was a big debate in Maker, and there was a concern about you guys were proposing a spell that was going to fix things, and if we kept going down the trajectory that we were going, it could end up being catastrophic for pDAI. So what I'm asking is, under this proposal, no worries, thanks, bud. Thanks for the question. Under this like the way that you guys are talking about it now versus the way that you were debating against it, I think it was last week. This extractor, whether they're bad or good, under both scenarios, is it the same? Like under your scenario, it sounds like it doesn't matter if they're good or bad. We can still win. Whereas under the other scenario,
on the other scenario, it's actually it can have catastrophic consequences, which was one of the primary reasons that we started addressing this. The biggest point of that is that if in the other scenario, if 5996 is a good guy and everything works out, in the end, all of it is going to follow the same pattern as in what we are proposing, because that's the only way you can actually fix Maker. However, if they turn out to be a bad actor, and they are allowed to single-handedly take over the governance, assuming they are a bad actor and they do vote their malicious governance contracts in, that is an irreversible action because they can set the debt ceiling to be at $1 trillion and mint $1 trillion of DAI and dump on everyone in a matter of a day. So that is the risk that community is faced with. And even if they build something good, community can still vote their good stuff in. And however, they will get to see if they are actually voting the good stuff in versus the stuff that is that can cause catastrophic consequences. So community gets to make a choice and judge what is right.
And if the all the maker goes into like one hand, for example, then the community doesn't have any choice for anything, because then there'll be no way to outweigh those votes.
Yes.
So basically the other proposal is, thank you for the super chat here, Ponzi Chad Michi. Cheers for the builders. Definitely cheers for the builders. I wish I could contribute more as a builder instead of just a mouthpiece. I'd really love to be able to build more, but yeah, you guys are like a rare commodity. So basically the way that it was going, all the power will go into the hands of whoever this team is, and we just have to trust whoever this team is that's doing this building is good actors. And if they happen to be good actors, then great. But if they happen to be bad actors, then they get all the power, the community gets nothing, and everybody can get screwed. It can get minted. We could get to $1 and then they could mint trillions and then just dump the crap out of it, for example.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So then the solution that you're proposing, the community, at some point the community will vote on whether we go in this direction or this direction. But the what you're trying to put forward is one where the power goes into the hands of the people.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Power to the people.
Like that's the whole point of a decentralized autonomous organization. Like it's in the people's hands, not just a centralized entity, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
also the more people that are responsible for it.
I mean, the better it is for the community in itself. Like if you get a community to build together, work together, and achieve something, you strengthen the community as a whole.
Yes, which has also made us judge some of the 5996 actions rather than being an entirely black hat, but more as a red hat, because he has been successfully pointing out potential points of vulnerability in Maker and some other protocols that do need to be addressed. Like when we fix Maker or community fixes Maker, it doesn't matter really. They have to keep whatever he's doing in mind because those are points of vulnerability that need to be addressed. Like, for example, you know that Maker on Ethereum has blacklists. And nobody.
The new sky does.
Yes, the new sky does have blacklists, and essentially, people don't like blacklists, and good tech should not rely on blacklists to restrict some more advanced users' actions. So his activities pointing out vulnerabilities actually helps builders to address these risks while they are fixing Maker, and essentially make the Maker on Pulsechain not rely on blacklist at all if those issues are addressed, because it's like if a super advanced user cannot screw the system up, that means the system is good. That means it's good tech, and it cannot be messed with by external users.
Okay. Wow. All right. So, first of all, thank you, Steve, for the super chat. So, I mean, even this, like, there's just been twists and turns throughout this whole thing. So, can you guys just explain quickly? I've never even heard what a red hat is. My understanding was white hat is like a good hacker who points things out to fix it. A black hat is like a bad actor, and then a red hat. What is a red hat?
A red hat is someone who is doing black hat activities while
like proposing solutions.
In a way, proposing solutions, or like it's someone in between. His activities can look like a black hat, but he might have white hat intentions. So his intentions are good, but his actions are showing otherwise. For example, that essentially leads to improving the system enough.
Okay,
it's like a white hat with a fee.
White hat with a fee, yes, that's a good way to put
it. So, okay, so
a splash of paint on it.
Yeah.
You also mentioned in the green room that you potentially knew who this red hat was. What's that?
There's a comment that it's chaotic good, and yes, that's definitely fitting.
So is it something that you're like comfortable sharing who the potential identity of this 5996 might be, or who you speculate it might be?
Actually, there were some things happening last night where we were having a very constructive conversation with Hyperlight on the Maker DAO chat. And he, she, whoever that person is, has pointed out that one of the contracts that he uses was deployed by somebody who is known as 0x Ethics. And I had a look at that contract, and I did see that users had to be whitelisted to use that contract. It's not anyone who can come in and use it. So that means that this person must have been given access to use that contract. And he is using kind of like a central bank address for it in a way that can assign users. That led us to a conclusion that actually one of the identities is 0x Ethics. And then we did some digging into that identity on X specifically, which actually further strengthened the Red Hat narrative because, well, first of all, his current X account is suspended. Second of all, he has been pointing out vulnerabilities in protocols from way before Pulsechain launched. And issuing alerts. Sorry?
Would he have been, just a quick question, sorry, would he have been given some kind of like a whitelisting? His whitelisting would be something from Ethereum, is that right? And in the fork process, it kind of still applies?
It could be.
No, it was just his own contract that he was using, so it doesn't matter if it happened on Pulsechain or Ethereum, it just happened on the same wallet.
Okay.
And,
so he could have just exploited it somehow.
I mean,
Like it's.
Yeah, it could have been. He could have been granted authorization to use the contract on either pre or post fork kind of thing.
Okay. Sure. Okay, gotcha.
So actually digging deeper into X on 0x ethics and his previous engagements, because even if his own account is currently not operational because it was suspended, people were mentioning him pointing out vulnerabilities in protocols on Ethereum before Pulsechain fork happened. And he was issuing these warnings, and some people were speculating that he was there to do pumps and dumps, but I guess that's what everyone is doing. Like, if you are spreading facts, many people are quick to judge it as FUD when you are just pointing out vulnerabilities. And that certainly fits his Red Hat narrative, because if he is here to point vulnerabilities of Maker, he's essentially doing the same thing to Pulsechain as he was doing on Ethereum.
Okay, so this is actually a really good question. So you realize that if step 2 is an extremely trusted source, people is not an extremely trusted source, people will be hesitant to throw their coins into an abyss. So how do you think we go about this? Because I mean, at the moment, like the predominant pDAI peg tomorrow narrative, which decentralized me, is basically put out. Everyone's just automatically trusted that. Why? Because Richard Hart's behind it, he'll peg it tomorrow, and everybody trusts that without question. Actually, nobody ever questioned that narrative. Because the best one for me are my pockets. So now that things seem a little bit more difficult, people's hesitation and lack of trust and everything's going to come into play. So how do you think that we bypass that with this kind of movement forward?
Right. Well, it's honestly it's kind of easy in a way. Contracts are trustless. They execute as they were designed to execute. So to kind of combat the trusted source or whatever kind of thing, you verify your contracts. You have people audit them. You look at them and make sure that nothing nefarious is happening within these contracts. And then you don't even need to trust the people. Really, you just trust the contracts. And that does take some level of, I guess, education and whatnot. And verifying a contract doesn't necessarily mean that it won't not rug you. I mean, there could be hidden code because people don't understand contracts fully, kind of thing. But having external audits and having other people look at contracts help that process, saying like, hey, yes, this contract is doing what these people say that the contract should do. And and then you don't really need to trust the people, really.
And actually, this reminds me of a point on one of the Pulsechain disclaimer points, where it has a sentence that specifically says that get the best coder you know to review the content that you're planning to engage with, or something along the lines.
So if you can learn the code or have the smartest coder or computer scientist you can find, read over the code you plan to execute.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that was a good question. Anything else in relation to this that you can think of before we move on to the 9iron tweet, the newest tweet, and if there's any comments there?
Yes, just a few more mentions on what we found of 0x ethics, because obviously him pointing out weaknesses was not the only thing that we have discovered about that identity. And essentially, he is a known arbitrager, and there were many posts about him on X that said that he was abusing arbitrage heavily. And I believe it was Whale Pulse that sent alert when he bridged in like 200,000 ETH. And after that said that they have blacklisted him. And so he was a known arbitrage abuser, and essentially his latest engagements, I guess, with Maker has mostly been focused on arbitrage as well. And a plot twist is that he has claimed his name tag on May 25th of 2023, yeah, ENS. And he has his NFT with a character from American Psycho movie, the main character that's both an investment banker and a serial killer in the background. So if he's here to play the Red Hat narrative, I feel like that suits him well.
Yeah, very like even the imagery is kind of coded as well. So I just sent you guys a question in the private chat. Are you able to
No,
go there?
yes, we can totally answer that. Actually, no, we do not have any burned liquidity.
It's all publicly owned.
It's all publicly owned, and we will be honest, like one of the main reasons we have kept the liquidity is because,
at least in our farms,
was because our member of the team actually wants to see pDAI succeed a lot, and he has specific look into Maker, and he has been asking that for a while, but we did not have any time for it. And we only got the time pretty much recently because, yeah, our protocol entered a new stage. So, I mean, we can remove that liquidity at any point.
Or at least
rather like remove the farm. And that will end up into people not having a reason to have this liquidity.
Or even in the near future, like we don't even need to do that. It would be up to a governance vote.
Yes,
people.
Exactly. And then people will get to choose whether they want to keep it or not. But for now, yeah, it's
beautiful.
It's there.
Okay, thank you. There you go, Frankie White. There's the answer to your question. So yeah, Frank was asking about whether XUSD has LP with pDAI and if it's burnt. So no, that's not the case. All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with this particular thing?
But no, with this particular identity, we said pretty much everything we know.
Okay, lovely. And then Guten Tag as well to Saddam. Yes, that's the symbol of eternity for Buddhists.
Actually, yes, and that's a sign, one of the signs of the sun, actually originating from paganism.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, there you go. Okay, all right. So there was a new tweet that people were talking about that they wanted to have a look at. So 10 hours ago. So possibly this one here. So let's have a look at this one. So I have suspected that the 5996 and related wallets are connected with the B22F and 9E6F wallets that took governance control of pAAVE and pMaker in July 2023. Now we finally have the on-chain proof connection. This seems like a team to me. So pDAI to $1.
Stephen, so I have sent you on Telegram something that you can open on the stream. You can open the second link in the message I sent you to pretty much show validity of that link.
Okay. So just these transactions anybody can essentially do. It's just calling a fallback function on that contract. Essentially what a fallback function is that if you call a contract with a call by code or something like that, like, so if you call a function that's not on the contract itself, and if the contract actually has a fallback function, it will fall back to that function, the fallback function. And so essentially what's happening here is that there was 0 pulse sent to the contract, and it just automatically goes to the fallback, which doesn't revert. I mean, in this case, it doesn't revert. A fallback function can hold any kind of logic it wants to, and I mean, inside that logic, it could revert, I guess. But here it's just essentially
you can head into overview, Stephen, because I think, yeah, so it's essentially the same thing that was shared with
on the tweet.
The tweet, but now head into the overview.
How do I go? Where? Overview. Gotcha.
Yeah, overview. And so this is actually sent from me. I've done exactly the same transaction today, and that's how it looks. But that does not make me an owner of AVI governance of the admin proxy. It's just basically I've sent some polls or zero polls. Yeah. And that's how it looks like. So anyone can send this contract address, for example, from like MetaMask or Rabby, just input receiving address, the address of this contract, and send it 5 polls, and you will get the same transaction.
Okay, gotcha. So basically, so what 99 is saying here, that we finally have the on-chain proof connection, that this wallet has taken over pAAVE and pMaker is not necessarily true, based on the fact that you've also done the same thing.
I have not taken over the governance of Aavie on Pulsechain.
And also, like, if you want to look deeper into it, the logs on this transaction are at 0, meaning that there is no event emitted from the fallback function, which also means that there's no state changes actually made in the contract itself, meaning no owner has been assigned or nothing has changed essentially in the state of the contract. So yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, you know, like, I think it's important to, I mean, it's good that we now have people that are not necessarily questioning 99, but at least fact checking, because I think a lot of people really didn't. I mean, I myself am completely guilty of really just, okay, this is 99's tweet. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to read the blockchain. I'm just going to present what he said. And there has been some mistakes on the way. So yeah, this is in no way like a like to discount anything that 99's done, but I think it's important.
And everybody makes mistakes. Like, this is a lot of very, I mean, all this stuff is very complicated in a way. And it's a learning curve for most people.
And he's been like the GOAT, the pDAI research GOAT. So, and then obviously this is showing the transaction details. So we'll go on to the next one. So firstly, go take a look at the pAAVE V2 lending pool. All the details are in there, and you can see the 9E6F taking control of pAAVE, pMaker, and likely pBAL at the same time. So this would be the. So let's, I guess, yeah. I mean, while you guys are here, let's verify that. So what he's saying then is, take a look at the pAAVE V2 lending pool. All the details are in there, and you can see that the 9E6F taking control of it. So does this show that? Does it, or?
I think it's just showing the contract itself and the transactions on that contract.
I think it's not loading. You could paste that address into a Pulsechain. Maybe it will show you the transactions.
Okay. So paste the address into. Oh no, damn it.
I see a question that I can answer. Is there a way to call the owner address? Well, on Maker, you can call the owner of DS Chief directly on the DS Chief contract. It has option to read.
You can probably do the same on the upgradable proxy.
Actually, no.
Yeah, well, not on the upgradable proxy itself. So
the lending pool addresses provider, I think. You can see the addresses of the providers.
usually like the proxy points to the logic of in another contract, and then that contract that it points to, you could probably look at the owner on that one kind of thing. So an overview of how proxy works is this: it's like an empty contract in a way, and it just forwards all the calls that get sent to the contract to another contract that holds the logic of the contract. And the rationale behind this kind of build strategy is so that you can change the logic over time or update it kind of thing without changing the main contract that all the other contracts point to, I guess you could say. So it's a way to upgrade contracts. But that's what like a proxy does. So the instance or the logic instant of the proxy is where the meat of the contract is at. And you could probably call the owner on that contract to see what the owner is or who the owner is kind of thing.
Yes.
But more likely than not, it will be probably another contract, to be honest.
Yes. And now that you have the link open, so actually it is the very same contract that we called this morning. And that post invited everyone to take a look on all the transactions they were doing with the lending pool. And essentially, if you scroll down, Stephen, a little bit, you can see that all his transactions failed because he was not authorized to call them.
Or they were not working properly.
Or they were not working properly, but well, deposit, I don't even think that deposit is on the contract itself.
It could be.
Because I was looking at that contract, it did not have the
What about these ones that were a success?
Yeah, hold. These ones that were a success, but this was all like balance transfers, just like we did. Like just sending that contract some Pulse.
Yeah, you can click into the transaction itself and look at it.
Okay, so what you're saying is just by sending Pulse, there's a way to make it approved, but it doesn't actually mean.
Yes, the
anything?
transaction doesn't fail, but right. Anyone can do it.
Yeah, and it doesn't change the state.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So basically, so again, what he's saying is true, but not necessarily 100% true, because it's actually not changing ownership, or it's not really even doing anything. So even though it shows it as doing something, it's not doing something.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, so number 3, it's no surprise that FD34 wallet is the main actor immediately post fork. So adding LP and enabling various functionality from pDAI to pDAI. What's pDAI?
I guess he means are they interest-bearing DAI?
Okay.
But that's just my assumption.
Oh yeah, Aave DAI would be Aave's interest-bearing DAI, which is tokens that they use when you deposit collateral in, because it's interest-bearing, because you will, if over time there'll be more pDAI in the contract that you will be able to withdraw from. Just over time, because as people borrow and repay back their borrowing, they have to pay an interest fee, and so then that interest fee goes to the interest-bearing token, and you gain interest, I guess you could say.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so adding LP and enabling various functionality from pDAI to pAave DAI, among others. Interestingly, it transferred its lending pool ownership into a contract ending in EA6D. So now we can have a look at that and see. And I'm assuming that you've done this as well already, and it is something that doesn't actually transfer the ownership, but it can be called.
Yes, actually, the point number 3 is also the same fallback, but this time, instead of sending 0 Pulse, he has sent 100 Pulse to the contract, so it has value on it.
Mm-hmm. That's the only difference.
That's the only difference.
So it's kind of an illusion. It's an illusion of looking like ownership's been transferred.
Happening.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yes. All right. So Here is the 9E6F wallet launching the same EA6D contract above. It's been obvious that the raid of PMaker came from pDAI, but it was not obvious that the FD34 was the mastermind until today.
Yeah, I mean, this link will also show you all the transactions that happened on the admin proxy, but we have already covered that. And
Okay.
all of them, yeah, the ones that try to actually interact with the lending pools have reverted and they have failed.
Okay,
And that's
gotcha.
mostly probably because the Aave is non-functional currently because of Oracle reasons and stuff like that.
Yes. And
So-
I'm not even sure if they have added the interest-bearing DAI pools on Pulsechain. I don't think they have done anything on Pulsechain. Actually,
They haven't done anything.
when I was,
but it would be the same contracts as on
it
Ethereum.
would be exactly.
So.
And so what I have done personally with like digging into Aave, I have looked at their contracts that are on Ethereum and what they did on Pulsechain, and pretty much the only thing they did on Pulsechain was just grant admin rights to that contract that EF6D, I think, or something like that, deployed. The one that granted BT2F ownership of Maker DS Chief, and pretty much left the case ever since. They have not granted admin perms to anyone else after.
Maybe.
He has
Okay.
not, unless he has in the past week or two, because, since the last time I have looked, but he pretty much granted ownership to that and then left the building.
So this one here from Kirsten, we answered this at the start. It wasn't, so she's asking, how could it be a bad actor if you minted pDAI before the launch? Wouldn't that have to be part of the Pulsechain team? So it wasn't minted before the launch, is that correct?
It was minted by someone else, but not an address that's that has direct links to the current 5996 address.
That's right, and that was something where, and look, you know, these are like valid things. So this is one of the things that MoneyGain came in here talking about, that there was no direct link, and I wanted to bring that comment up, but I thought it was quite valid, to be honest. I had never, only as I've been digging around the blockchain a little bit more, did it make more sense. But I want to see if I can find that comment. Let me see.
Someone is saying that that was another wallet that could be connected to the 5996 wallet. Yes, we have already covered that they could be connected in a way that he has deployed similar or same contracts that 877 has deployed. But apart from that, there's no direct link. And the thing is, like, I think also you as well, you could just take another contract that was deployed, you could break it down and essentially deploy it yourself,
right,
to make it look like it's you. And he has been doing lots of this type of transactions within Maker and with like other protocols that make it look like they are doing something that they are not actually doing.
And like a lot of times, these contracts that look similar, I wouldn't even speculate that similar looking contracts are connecting in the same style. Like a lot of times you can just get these contracts off of GitHub and deploy them, or you like have the same kind of coding style. Like most of the time, especially with Solidity, there are certain ways that you have to interact with other contracts, and they can only be interacted with in a certain manner or like structure. So that in itself can make them look similar.
And also, especially if users' skills are similar, like when it comes to all the arbitrage kind of stuff. Like if you know this, likely it might be as well that you have learned from the same source and then end up using that coding style.
With Solidity, because it's also such a new language, there isn't a whole lot of ways to do like the same thing, I guess, if that makes sense. Like with JavaScript, you can do one thing a million different ways. So you can have more different like coding styles and whatnot. But with Solidity, because it's a newer language and there's not a million ways to do one thing, the one thing is going to look pretty similar across the board.
Okay, got you. So it's kind of like I'm trying to think of an analogy, but
like there's no other way to approve a token to be used except for calling the approve function on the token. Kind of thing.
Okay. But because there's so many different ways that you can make it look like it's calling that same function, it might not necessarily be doing it in exactly the way. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
A little
in a way.
Like, so for example, if you want to trade a token, you're going to have to approve the token to be traded, and then you're going to need to do the swap for it. There's no other way to do it, if that makes sense, except if you approve and then swap. I think you can't swap and then approve, or forego the approval and then swap kind of thing. I mean, kind of can, but it's the same kind of pattern all the way around. Whereas like JavaScript, for example, to approve a token to be used in a swap, you can use either VM, Ethers.js, or Web.js, or Web3 JS libraries, and they all look different, but they're still doing the same thing.
And also, I think another good example to be used here is that contract E7E has deployed, because E7E has deployed his own version of DSS autoline, and then he called a function on it. Like, yes, that contract is a direct copy of a maker contract. He just copied it, deployed it, and called a function of it. It looks like he is calling a function on a maker contract, but that's not the maker contract that is an operation. So the it's not approved to do any changes on the VAT or any other contracts. So they have showed that they were deploying copied contracts and use them to call functions on them to essentially mislead people.
He even has an approved contract that he has deployed that you can and whatnot.
Yeah, and I know that a few devs from the community have deployed his contract themselves because he verified it, and that was not just surfacing, that was also some other members of the community. So you can look at these contracts and see what they do.
In a way, if I understand correctly, it's kind of like, let's just say Maker is like this protocol with all these interconnected things, and they're all interconnected, and all they've done is take one of those pieces, copied and pasted it. It's not connected to it, but it looks like it is part of it. Like it can be, it looks like it because it's got the same name, but it's not actually connected to the rest of Maker.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Understood. Yeah, and also this is actually really great, and this is actually really this is fun because I'm kind of keeping up with you guys a little. I'm keeping up with you a little. I'm actually learning a lot, so I really appreciate you guys sharing all this. And even with this, I probably wouldn't have been able to understand this concept that Money Gang Crypto is talking about maybe before I started Pulsechain. Really, I mean the 0000. If we're connecting, I wouldn't have verified what 99 was saying. And again, 99 always made it clear that he was speculating, that he was trying to create this connection from the FD34 through that wallet, through the 000 to the E7E to the
Actually, I would like to correct this statement a little bit as well, because I do not think that he is using null address as a reference here. It's because one of these wallets ends with a 000, but it has a 2 just before, and it's a different wallet, but the last 4 digits are 0000. So that's what he means. He does not mean that they are connecting via a null address. He just used another wallet, and actually that wallet was the one that has poked successfully before. That's why people originally thought that he had some special admin privileges, because he was able to do a poke and nobody else could. But essentially, surfacing was able to do that as well, following the pattern that he did. So it's something that any user could have, but this wallet was quite significant and received a lot of attention for a while, and it does end with a 0000.
Got you. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to hit Money Gang up on that one so we can get some clarity on that. But then what how can you say that there's no way that this 5996 doesn't go back to the FD34 wallet then?
Even if it does, we have no links of FD34 being connected to 877 directly. So this does not close the loop in a way. And
okay, got you.
FD34 was the one wallet that was pointed out in these tweets that you have opened right now that was able to do functions on the proxy contract, which was just setting some polls to it. And
okay.
Yeah, so that should solve the...
Okay, cool. There is actually a few questions here. I will get to these questions, but you mentioned Oracle. And I know that this has been a big FUD point. The Oracle's broken. It can't be fixed. What's your perspective on that?
Well, the current oracles that are in place can't be fixed, and that's because they are susceptible to relay attacks. So the solution for this problem would be to replace the oracles, and that can only be done through a spell.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. So just by a spell, you can replace the oracles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so and let's put spells in clear. I mean, it's actually kind of cute, to be honest. But a spell is like something that implements some kind of fix, right?
The magic spell that defeats Voldemort, right?
Right. Yeah. So spells are essentially just changes that are voted in. Or a spell contract is a contract that can be voted in and become the hat and then be lifted from the hat to the DS pause to be executed. And what a spell contract does is that it can change different parameters of the maker ecosystem. So within a spell, you can assign new contracts, you can deny new contracts, you can change different parameters of the entire system and stuff like that. It's just their way of being able to make changes to a system through a DAO governance vote.
Yeah, and this because we maker needs a governance vote to pass anything anyway to begin with. Mm-hmm. That allows for more adjustments to be implemented, and for example, to drop the ceiling to 0, so no new mints could occur, can be done at the same time. We can also increase the security of the hat by implementing a new DS chief contract, so the old spell does not become the hat at any point. Mm-hmm. And a lot more fixes can be done within the same vote, actually. It does not need repetitive votes. And if anyone is ready to review whatever we already have proposed, the GitHub is pinned on the MakerDAO Telegram channel. So there's the README file that should be within the grasp of a DeFi user, not a dev, if you're not ready to read the contracts. And as I have always emphasized, it's not like it's our spell versus your spell versus that person's spell. It should be something that comes from the community, and the more developers are willing to contribute to it and address everything that could be messed up with, as our known Red Hat is pointing us out, the more secure we can make it.
Yep, and hence why the spell itself, the contract spell, has not been deployed yet, because we do need community input on it. We do need to essentially, come to an agreement or come to, make sure we're covering everything. Yes. Essentially, because there are parts that we may oversee or not, realize that needs to be changed, that should be changed, and we want to make sure it gets done correctly.
Yes, and essentially, community has to come in an agreement about what they want to see, because after all, if we are going the true DeFi way, that means that community needs to be in agreement with whatever is being proposed. And I've seen some people raising concerns on how can we get the maker to pass the votes. And actually, last Friday, I believe I have done some digging into like active Pulsechain wallets, and we do have enough maker in the active Pulsechain wallets hands already, but we don't really have room for people not contributing. So we do actually need everyone to vote
to come together,
and to come together.
And I mean, even on this, right? I think, I mean, just to address this comment here, because it's aligned with what you're saying. I mean, one of the things with the spells, and we're talking about changes and fixes in things that people don't really necessarily understand. And I know that there is the MakerDAO document, but I don't know if it's something that either of you would ever be interested in doing, like a little mini series together, or something like this, explaining contract logic.
Actually,
you'd be down for that?
It has been in our greatest interest before to just in general educate people about Maker and
contracts in general.
And contracts in general, because obviously seeing people fall for evidence of reverted transactions and somebody just putting one hook and catching plenty of fish with that hook. We wanted to teach people about how all of it works. So this is certainly in line.
Beautiful.
With what this suggests.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, if you're down, I mean, I don't know if you want to make your own channel for it, but if not, obviously, I'd love to host that, because I'd love to learn and ask and do that with you. But we can talk about that. We can talk about that in DMs after this. So I want to go back to this question. So can we go back to the catastrophic outcome referred to earlier? In this scenario, do we need to pass the spell that Cattie and Surf are working on? And what happens if the spell is not passed?
Okay, so in order to address this, I would like to start that it's not necessarily that we are not in a situation that if you don't pass this our spell, you are gonna get rugged. Don't get us wrong. Our main intention for starting to bring this up was because we have been working with stables for years, and we had some governance attacks experiences and stuff like that. And when they have decided to push for flop auctions being a secret thing, that could have easily spiraled into a potential governance attack. So essentially, that was the catch point for catastrophic consequences that people need to be aware of, that if they want to prevent potential governance attacks, what is the logical thing to do, which is to be at least partially responsible for governance yourself, so you can judge things that you're voting for, whether they are good or bad. And of course, if we get to pass the spell in, it's going to address security concerns. But the thing is that for flop auctions, it's not even the spell that needs to be addressed. It's more so community education, because if we want to have a decentralized community govern a protocol, they need to be knowledgeable enough to look out for potential governance attack risks, and at the same time to be educated about flop auctions, how to bid in them, and we have seen a lot of misleading messages being sent to the community. Like one of the biggest ones was, if you bid on flop auctions, you will lose money, which is entirely incorrect and can be seen as manipulating the community to not even vote for it, because the thing that happens, or to bid for it, because essentially if you bid on one of these maker auctions and somebody outbids you, you're going to get your bid back entirely. And there is no way to lose money if you get outbid in that auction, even if that other person has more capital than you. And that's why those misleading messages need to be cleared out. And people need to understand how to engage with flop auctions, how to acquire governance tokens. Even if they do push some updates and they manage to find a way to get to the maker auctions, then community needs to be aware on how to protect their own bags. Because if they allow that malicious action to be taken, it's their bags that are going to be drained.
Right. And also, you know, front ends help a lot with this aspect as well, making it easier to place bids on these auctions and
yes,
all that kind of stuff.
And the fact that they have taken the front ends down also kind of shows that there was a plot for a potential governance attack, because people need to be able to bid. So of course builders can provide these front ends. It's not like there is a key to making a maker front end. Anybody can do it, but when they do happen, people need to be, flop auctions, people need to be ready to engage with them.
So as builders yourself, how do you see the time frame of this? So minus the liquidity and the value that needs to come into the system in order, I mean, we're seeing all these websites and things pop up all the time. So how, like, are you looking at this like, oh, this is something that's going to take years to build out, it's going to take weeks, it's going to take months? How are you thinking about it in terms of your rough understanding of like the dev community on Pulsechain?
So the way we see that is we can reach PEG rather quickly, because actually flop auctions can be adjusted via the same governance parameters. For example, we could set 1 second waiting time and have 500 of these maker auctions going off in 3 days. That means that in 90 days, the supply will be burned, and people can expect to see pDAI getting close to PEG. So, however, no matter if the external person has intentions to peg pDAI, or if our spells or whatever the community spells get voted in, it's unrealistic to see a God candle to peg that stays pegged. It's just impossible, because people will sell, and even if this happens, it will just come crashing right back down until over-collateralization is achieved.
Gotcha. So, but what I was asking, sorry, was forgetting that, how long would it take for us as a dev community, when I say us, obviously, you know, you're two devs, but to start building out the front ends and the UIs and the kind of infrastructure that's going to be needed on the back end and front end?
So we already have a front end pretty much ready to go for the flop auctions. I think I still need to test it again. I think there's still, because like essentially we just forked the current one that is used for Sky, and but it's like an old repository and old dependencies are using it, so it's kind of taking a little while to get those updated. And like this one right here, and like the I know one of the problems that I had to solve in it was that the signers are not being connected. But we did solve that aspect of it, and we're just kind of working on getting the dependencies all ironed out and then being able to host it.
Yes, and I see some comments that I'd like to address from Ready Teddy. Just as fast as they were able to inflate, they can reduce. That's the part that I would like to address. Yes, flop auctions, and that's exactly what we said as well. That if they actually turn out to be a good actor and contribute, that will just make the process go way faster. So it can take a very short amount of time if they decide to contribute.
So can you just tell me where we might be able to? Sorry, can you just tell me where we might be able to see some of these like numbers right now? Do we have any kind of website that I can connect the words that you're talking about with some sort of visual? So there used to be a site that had maybe flop auctions somewhere, but I don't think it works anymore. So
no, essentially, flop auctions would start when all the surplus gets used. And surplus is not a direct function on a VOW contract. It's on the VAT contract. You have to call DAI on the VOW to see how much spare DAI do you have. So once that gets used up, then flop auctions can begin, which also brings us to another quite important point that we wanted to address with the stream.
But before that, on the Sky website that you're kind of earlier or just before this one, yep, if you go to the home side of it, if you just click their logo, they have the 3 different options there, and you have the debt auctions, and that's like essentially where you can see the flop auctions taking place and participate. And we'll have the same website, but just tailored for Pulsechain and usable on Pulsechain, I guess you could say.
Okay. So there's no options at the moment.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, someone saying that we are not on our schedule, but on theirs, and the bigger game is at hand. So the thing is that their schedule would probably have been hit when the debt ceiling hit. And from that point, it's, I mean, you can find some profitable moves within Maker right now, but you cannot directly mint out of the thin air. And essentially, flop auctions can be used to adjust how fast does this happen. So whoever wants to say that they are building something and they need to take XYZ amount of time for it can come into a discussion with community builders. Hey guys, we need, for example, 6 months to have everything ready to go. Then we adjust the flop auction duration and cater for their schedule.
Litigation is more what I was thinking, is what he was saying, Ready Teddy. Litigation.
So like assigning the work to others?
Not too sure.
Could you please elaborate on the litigation?
Could you elaborate on that, Ready Teddy? What do you mean by litigation is more what I was thinking? So in terms of building it out, it's not that hard because you're just forking what already exists. You're just copying what already exists and probably putting Pulsechain colors and right?
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, in terms of like building out front ends and things, it's obviously not too hard, but we'll go here. So you don't ruffle feathers when the fox is in the hen house.
I like that comment.
Yeah.
I like that comment too. Probably. Yeah. There you go. Probably.
Fox is already eating hens.
What's that? The fox has already eaten the hens, did you say?
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to get a rifle and shoot the foxes. Okay, so I feel like we've covered some pretty good ground, to be honest. I don't know if there's any other questions or anything that you guys want to address.
Yeah, as I was saying that starting the flop auctions has been a point that we wanted to address the further issue with the current narrative. Because what is currently being told is that people should just wait for joy to hit zero. And hitting joy hitting zero right now is actually almost impossible mathematically, or it would take years. Like, we're literally talking about years, and people repaying their DAI at a loss. And for example, most of the auctions that are coming up are ETH-A vault liquidations. And so why ETH-A is such a problem is because it has negative available debt to be withdrawn. I have seen some of the very 5.9 and 6 transactions where he takes a flash loan, he liquidates, for example, an ETH-B vault, and then he uses ETH collateral to mint DAI again and repay that flash loan. But why this works on ETH-B, but it doesn't work on ETH-A, is because ETH-B is at almost zero available DAI to be withdrawn, so almost zero available debt, while ETH-A is at like negative however much, like
the debt ceilings.
The debt ceiling has been reached and bypassed by millions of DAI. And that collateral at the moment on the Oracle is almost worthless. So people would have to donate millions of DAI for a couple thousands of Pulse. And nobody's doing that because it causes them huge loss. Of course, you can do that with flash loans on ETH-B and ETH-C, and because that will drop the individual ceiling, then you can mint again. But you cannot do this on ETH-A. And all the auctions, almost all the auctions coming up are exactly ETH-A type, and nobody bids for them.
And also the entire global line, the global debt ceiling is now surpassed, so it's almost impossible to do the flash loan aspect as well.
Yes, it makes flash loaning really harder. You have to meticulously calculate and do some manipulations with the auto line in order to engage in these flash loans. That's why he is probably the only one doing it, because
and I mean, honestly, more power to him. You know, if he's that smart to do that, then I mean, that's an arbitrage situation that is doable.
Yes, and at the same time, also Joy can have up patterns. Joy can have down patterns. If you have some auctions in queue that are coming up that people are actually bidding the DAI for, and that under collateralization gets later put into SYN and is available to be healed, you will see a short-term Joy drop pattern. Then you will have a chunk of auctions coming up that are not profitable to bid for. Suddenly you will see Joy increasing again. So you will have a period of time where Joy is going to increase. And the auction queue is full at all times.
Right.
And these vaults can be called to be auctioned off on the Clipper. But
nobody's participating.
Nobody is participating in those liquidations. So that is why Joy hitting zero is almost impossible with these conditions.
The current system, yeah.
Yes, you can slowly grind it down, and then if you repay those ETH-A vaults, you're willing to go at a loss, which I would assume that somebody who really wanted to do it could do. But we are talking about them having to repay hundreds of millions of DAI for it. And at the same time, even if they did, there is insufficient under collateralization that is being put into the vow that does not allow all the surplus to be healed, or rather to be used to heal the sins. So the current narrative has a fundamental problem with joy hitting zero, because
I mean, it could hit zero, but it would take forever.
It will take forever.
It's not predictable, but it's just, I mean, if you want to sit in your hands and do nothing for a long time, it may get there or it may not, kind of thing. And I mean, I guess if you want to wait and do nothing, then that's what you can do. I know with the fixing of the price oracles and casting a new spell, it could, you know, speed up that process of lessening joy.
Yes, because pretty much after the spell gets passed, the system will read sufficient under collateralization, because it will see the correct values of the collateral that is in the system. So it will push more sin that's available to be healed,
right,
and we can pretty much get to the flop auctions
pretty quickly,
in a matter of a few days. And also that collateral will be worth bidding for at the same time, so people can participate in those liquidation auctions and be in profit by doing that.
You know, it's really interesting how on both sides of the equation, or both sides of the DAIbate, everyone's kind of held on to different things, different kinds of, and I remember watching this, the joy going to zero, and I was really pushing this out on Twitter because that's just what I heard. I'm like, yeah, the joy going to zero, didn't really understand how or why. And then, you know, the opposite side will hold on to different things about the oracle, and, you know, even the oracle, I mean, you've pretty much, there was like friggin' 24-hour spaces on this oracle, and you've pretty much just said, well, all you need to do is cast a spell and propose a new oracle, and that's it. So it's like, you know, people have wasted like all this time debating things up and down. And yeah, I mean, when you get the right people talking about something that they actually understand, it kind of, yeah. And I guess we should also not 100% trust you. We should also verify those sorts of things for ourselves. That's what we should all be doing anyway. So yeah,
I mean, also it's very easy to get hyped because, for example, if you see joy dropping from like 700 million to 400 million in a matter of few days, you are immediately prone to project. So it's going to drop another 300 million in the next few days, and then suddenly you start calculating. Oh, so if we keep going at this pace, we're gonna hit zero. It's just like calculating your profits. If you are at a profit, you are going to hope that it goes higher, and try to use, for example, patterns of past cycles to track for price increases, and you just get hyped because it's going in the direction that you want it to go. But then suddenly you have all of these auctions coming up in queue that are not profitable to bid for, and that's when you suddenly start seeing joy going up, and you're like, is this the real play? Like, can it actually happen? Why it was going down and all of a sudden it's 300 million? I've personally gotten to see some parts of this narrative, and that made me question it, because people were originally anticipating joy will hit zero then, joy will hit zero then, joy will hit zero then. I believe the last one was like, yes, on April 1st we start flop auctions because joy is about to hit zero on March 31st, and then we can start them. And then all of a sudden, I believe it was like 1 week until March 31st, that suddenly from like 300 million, it went back to almost 800 in a matter of a few days. And I was sitting and thinking, oh, something must be wrong with this. Like, there is something that people are not accounting for. And then we digged into these maker mechanisms to see how it gets calculated, and what increases joy, what decreases joy, what increases sin, what decreases sin, because there's also two different sin parameters. One is on the VAT and the other is on the vow. And then we say, this one can only be increased if a system sees that it's really under collateralized. That's when this one grows, and that's when this one can heal it. I mean, right now there are some under collateralized vaults that have fallen below the liquidation ratio that are being auctioned off, but that does not increase the sin. Yeah, that does not increase the sin enough.
Yeah, because what it wants to do is it wants the collateral to be liquidated first before the system takes on the bad debt. And in doing so, it forces, the liquidation aspect to occur first. And then there's also like a profitable loop that goes on with it, because when you click redo, you get paid out for clicking redo, because it wants to force the liquidations to happen first before it can go to the flop auctions, essentially.
Yes.
And if it can't cover all the debt via liquidations, then surplus will get used.
And I mean, actually, I believe I have seen one comment from Alex of Hedron on X that actually made sense, because the mechanisms that you see kicking in right now are the very same mechanisms as if DAI was over the peg on Ethereum, because they would be working to push the price down. Because if the Oracle reads DAI price as $1 and it's like 0.002 right now, it wants to push that price down because it sees that the value is higher. So those are the very same mechanisms that would be making sure that DAI does not exceed too far over $1. But obviously we have hit the ceiling of supply, so it cannot dilute supply further at the moment to keep pushing the price back down. And one thing is that maker auctions at a surplus are unrealistic to happen, because why would you want to auction a DAI for maker if you're over your target price? You wouldn't, because that's exactly the mechanism that is meant to push DAI towards the peg, not to push it to go higher.
So even yourself, you were following this number, and then you didn't fully understand it, and then you kind of did a deep dive. I remember you saying to me you did like a deep dive on, like, in a week, and you learned all there was to know about Maker, and then you knew the ins and outs of it. A few weeks.
Yeah.
But still, that's yeah. I mean,
stable coins and their mechanisms are not new to us, because we have been working with algo stables for years before. So, of course, a lot of it was new because it's a different collateralized system, and we have been working with algorithmic stablecoins. Actually, I have worked with one that was supposed to be collateralized in the end. So yeah, that essentially our pre-experience helped us to grasp it quickly. So that's why it did not take us too much to understand the system thoroughly.
Still, that's cool though. It's cool that you didn't really fully know, and then obviously, I mean, all your background knowledge helped you a lot. But it's nice. It's nice that we have devs that are like that in our community, who actually really want to share and support and help the community. So this question here from Enslaved Savage. So what about the FMS shutdown? Can that be provoked and eliminate the MakerDAO governance and convert pDAI to a meme?
I think he means ESM. And I mean, if you provoke ESM shutdown module, so essentially what it does is it starts giving people collateral out in exchange for the DAI. And also you can withdraw your internal balances, which, for example, in the case of 5996's actions, if he has like $1 billion of DAI, all of the vaults combined in his VAT DAI balance, which he has already put, he can still exit that and he can still dump that, and it will look like he's minting, and then people will be screaming, oh, we have triggered emergency shutdown. How is he still able to mint? He must be a wizard or something. So he will still be able to withdraw that balance, and it won't be worth to return the collateral for the people in exchange for that DAI they have, because that collateral is effectively almost worthless. So EMS is kind of like a consolidation for the shutdown system, where people can give their DAI back in exchange for collateral. If there is no collateral, there is no point in giving that DAI. So, and since we are at the debt ceiling, for example, until it's fixed, it's almost functioning as if it was shut down. Because because people are not bidding their DAI for auctions. Why would they come and just give it for 10 pulse? You know, why would you give 200,000 DAI for 10 pulse? You wouldn't.
And the shutdown process can be invoked at any given time. It just costs, I think, like 250,000 in maker that you will never get back.
150,000.
Or 150,000, yeah. That you'll never get back, which is a lot of money, I guess.
So, and even on that, so there's been a lot of talk about like who owns the most maker. Like there's already someone who quote unquote owns admin keys because they'd have the most amount of maker, or like the like is there enough in circulation and this type of thing, or like
I mean we have around up to 50K among the active holders within the past year on Pulsechain.
Okay.
Then we also have some of the top holders that seemed like they had the maker for the Pulsechain launch just in case. And one of them in particular has bought this maker just before the fork and has spread it around after the fork. So it looked like it was a preparation to have it just in case for a Pulsechain launch, in case someone meddles with the system governance or something like that. But this also, at least for me, the logical conclusion is that if community decides to address all the risks of maker, that might as well be used not just for governance protection, but for helping us vote something in.
Okay, I like it. I like it. So we'll go through some of these questions. And Honest, do you foresee pDAI pegging? Obviously, the most important question of all.
I think it will take a lot of work, but the mechanics are there, and the mechanics essentially will bring it to peg.
Yes, we have the tools for it, and community can make it happen.
Yeah, I love that more than anything, that the community can make it happen. So it can become ours. We become the owners. What an opportunity we have. Did you want to say something? Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Just seeing if there's any questions here. I like these devs. I like them also very much. She's extremely intelligent, and I think a lot of people need to watch this. Yeah, Hexologist Heart. I couldn't agree more. So I think it's really nice, actually. You know, things can be misinterpreted in text, and I really empathized with you, and I could really feel the tension in the discussions that was going on, and it was really I mean, this whole thing has been it's been a lot of tension for a lot of people, so it's really nice to actually hear you talk about it. It gives a completely a more personalized perspective, I think. So these auctions are the exact same as the Hedron and Icosa auctions. Is that correct?
I don't really know.
The HSI ones.
I'm personally not familiar with those ecosystems as well, but I will have a look after the stream.
Okay. I definitely agree. So boys club Maximus, I'll go into that on a separate I might as well ask you two if you have any perspectives on Treasury bill and Fed. I know people have been asking me to do like a deep dive video on Treasury bill.
I know Treasury bill has been revoked recently, so it can't be minted anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
that's about it. Yeah, and I know I know that Maria set up, or Hamadaichi now set up liquidity pools with
UST,
pDAI.
USDT.
Yeah, yep. And then basically been, the ratios have been looking pretty good on that. So it kind of looks like Maria's just doing his own thing with the P stables. He had a vision of like what he can do with it, and he's just doing his own thing. That's what it looks like is happening with Treasury bills. So I even saw like I think it was PUSDT and PUSDC, like the ratio since that has been like getting, well, this is like pDAI, PUSDT. That's the best it's been for a year actually. So getting close, and then this one was like really, really close. So let's see if there's any other questions here. I don't know if you guys have anything else that you want to add. No other questions. So
I think so far we have addressed a lot of the issues and have given a lot of information for users to process, and make their own judgment. But I would definitely like to encourage further series on like explaining the contract mechanics and the system overall, more educational than reactive to what's happening around, and that should be definitely included in the new streams coming.
Yeah, definitely. So I think everybody needs to understand these things, and I definitely want to be someone who understands it as well. So Anna Maria, these are the steps here. So you're asking what are the steps to have this happen. So if you go back to the start, we went through that, but I'll leave this here if you want to screenshot it. But I guess so. Just to kind of summarize everything, it sounds to me like this extractor is, whether they're good or bad, this can work if we work together as a community. Either way, whether they're good or bad, we can. If they're bad, it's going to take longer. If they're good, it's going to be faster. We can get this to work. There's a clear plan to make it work, but we have to work together as a community. And so, in terms of, obviously, Richard Hart's sentiment of not buying pDAI and removing liquidity, I think it's probably wise to follow that sentiment until some, like, when do you think that sentiment changes? I mean, if we now as a community go, well, hang on, we can actually fix this.
I mean, I think that it's not as much about purchasing DAI at the moment, and purchasing DAI at the moment, every investment needs to have some thought put behind it, and you need to do your own research about what you're investing into. So, for example, if we have a scenario where pDAI is entering that deflationary period, and you wish to buy some DAI to acquire some maker, that's when it's the correct time to do so.
And also I think a lot of that is trying to say, hey, don't focus on the price of pDAI, don't focus on the liquidity of pDAI, don't focus on any of that, but maybe focus on the system itself, and that it needs to be fixed in a way. And that has to, kind of come from the community.
Yes, and just to address some comments that were being made before, we would like to tell that, yes, we appreciate the work that Nine Iron did in keeping the community together for a long time. And we don't want to overshadow or overthrow his work. It's
we look forward to working with him.
We actually look forward to working with him, and from what I've noticed, he is a humble person that is learning and process himself as well. And if he makes some mistakes and we point them out, it does not mean that he is doing a bad job, or that we want to just prove him wrong or something like that, even if it can come across as such in text messages. Our primary goal was always just to bring clarity to the community and to educate them. And I am also sorry if whatever I said in text messages last week hurt people. My primary intention was to protect the community and have them aware of something that might be happening, but I did not want to hurt anyone.
That's really nice of you to say. That's really, really nice. And I think that's definitely the spirit that we need to move forward in as well. There's always like, we always jump into like right and wrong. But why does it always have to be right and wrong? Everyone, or like, oh, they must have some bias on this, and oh, you know, it must be because you hold those bags, and oh, it must be because you're a core coin maxi. Like, I want to really get past this kind of like dualistic way of thinking about everything. It's so limiting and so restrictive, and it really stops us from progressing forward, like in a mutually beneficial way. I think at the end, of course, everybody will have their incentives. Everybody's going to want things to progress in the way that is going to benefit them. But if you can align incentives, then everybody wins. So if we can do it in a mutually beneficial way, then that's a really beautiful thing, in a way that can actually help as many people as possible. So I want to ask this question here, this last one here, maybe. So thoughts on a snapshot / airdrop fork with fixed oracles? So
it's not necessary.
It's not.
A spell can fix the oracles.
There we go.
A lot of people do want to see the forked DAI succeed specifically.
Right.
And even if somebody forked it and airdropped all the holders that are non-exploiters, those people would not get to see their dream coming true. And also, it's not needed, given that we can actually take steps towards fixing the system, and
as it's currently like works.
Yeah. It has lots of great mechanisms in place, and those very same mechanisms will allow it to recover.
So really, again, Hugh Hefner, it's right. It's here. This is the quote unquote roadmap, you could say. So moving forward, then it seems like it could be a long road, or it could be a fast road, depending on how we work together. And I suppose,
and depending how users engage with it. If users see a real plan with Maker and DAI working as it should, and incentives being built around it, be it Badger, Curve, Aave, or anyone else, then that will just make this journey faster.
And you know, this is the $1 billion question for everyone, Ryan. I mean, this is where does the billions come for anything? There's like what, hundreds of trillions of value flowing around the world. I mean, that type of concern for me is not a big one. It's not a big one. I mean, if we get the kind of pumps that happen in cryptocurrency, if we even just get a fraction of that flowing into Pulsechain, I don't see that as being a hurdle at all. That's just my opinion.
We've got to create the incentive to do so.
Yes, and the incentive, good tech attracts money, and especially if it's working well. And at the same time, I would not like to come across judgmental towards the initial narrative, but if you thought that providing 40 billion for the pDAI to peg right now and get over collateralized was realistic, I do think that needing at least 5 times less for that is a lot more realistic to achieve. So essentially, if users want to make it happen, they have the power to make it happen. And also, the more incentives we have around Maker and DAI, it will get easier for people to over-collateralize when time comes, because they don't have to put external capital into it.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. How about this one here? Could it be possible that pDAI holders are actually getting in the way of the peg?
I mean, right now, everything is fine because flop auctions have not started yet. I could see that becoming some sort of a hurdle that would require people to externally have to buy DAI in order to burn it. But I do think that those people that hold pDAI are actually believers into the system, believers that the system can work and that it can reach peg. So I
just have to
don't.
give them the ability to get there.
We just have to give them the ability to get there. Exactly.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's not really getting in the way, but more of a mindset thing, really. Like maybe if we just kind of sit back and wait for everybody else to do everything for us, then nothing's going to get done. So, like we've kind of emphasized through this, is like really engaging with it and really learning about it. I think is really important. So.
And also, I've been thinking about that. For example, if you are a big holder and you have a couple hundred millions of pDAI, that does not mean that you have to burn all that pDAI. You can keep your sack that you wish to hold until peg, but burn the rest for Maker. And I think anyone would rather have a smaller sack that reaches peg than a huge sack that remains below 10 cents at all times.
Okay, so enslaved savage again. So doesn't success rely on having control of enough maker tokens to control the outcome of the auctions, though? What about the tokens on the ETH side and also persuading a fragmented community to offer up tokens? So I don't think the ETH tokens on the other side are even relevant to our side, unless I'm mistaken. But
actually, a lot of them are tied to companies and delegates, and they are not willing to even sell them in the market due to their legal obligations that they have with makers. So those significant holders on each side, they are not going to come in suddenly vote for something. But at the same time, we do have to address that we need to inflate enough maker through flop auctions, so it is the Pulsechain community that would be in charge.
Right.
And sufficient enough to support the decisions needed.
Okay. How do you propose unity throughout the community to pool maker tokens? Why do we need to pool the maker tokens?
To pool, like for
a vote.
For a vote.
I mean, through front ends, through other incentive mechanisms, but mainly through collaboration with each other. If enough community gets together to collaborate on something, they will be willing to vote for that something.
Yes.
Like they want to see their own hard work in action.
Yes, and if they believe in something and they know how to do it, it's easy to use, then they will be able to do it. And information spreads. Just need to make sure that information is right, and whatever tutorials they have are working. I mean, I've seen many DeFi communities working together in my experience, and whenever there's a strategy behind something, usually there are people in chats answering questions to each other, so this ends up spreading around.
People learn.
Okay.
And people learn from each other.
Yeah.
So if at the moment it's us explaining how we figured out the system to work, maybe someone after, or a group of people after watching the stream will figure it out themselves and then be the ones that are spreading this information to further community. It's just the information flow law.
Yeah, hopefully we can continue snowballing, especially some of the understanding around the documents. That's something that whenever I just see like wall, I mean, this is like that's just one page. It's a lot of words. I'm just like, makes my head hurt even just looking at it. So
I know even for me, I look at the docs, I'm like, okay, just let me look at the contracts. I can personally just read the contracts a little bit more easier and understand what's happening.
In the maker in the maker case, like it's a lot easier to understand the contracts than the docs.
The docs, yeah.
Because it's pretty straightforward when you look at the contract, for example, to calculate what can be healed. Like you can see exactly what is subtracted from what, and it's just a simple mathematical formula: this minus this. While when you read the docs,
they talk about all this like theoretical stuff, and like I guess it's thorough in that way. But I know for us, like it's just a lot of reading.
So you just prefer the simplified math,
right?
I wish I would prefer like some sort of, if just give it to me in a diagram, not the math. I just want to see like a diagram, and
They actually have a Maker 101 slideshow presentation, and even that is like 50 slides or something. That's like 100 something slides.
I think it's 107.
And it's kind of outdated, to be honest, too.
But I'll have a look around. I'll have a look around for that. So Maker 101.
Right.
So what if the pDAI is fractional reserve? Does this allow pegging to happen a lot quicker and easier?
Fractional reserve, meaning that you can have ownership. I only know of fractional NFT kind of thing where you can own a part of an NFT. I'm not really quite sure about the fractional reserve aspect when it comes to like pDAI. So I can't really answer that question, to be honest. I do know that it's hard.
A banking term,
right? And yeah, I don't really come from a banking sector at all. I'm more of a human and psychology and computer science kind of person. But like I do know that in our case, while under peg, we don't need a reserve. We want to get rid of the reserve to buy the pDAI to get it to peg, kind of thing.
Yes, I will be looking into the fractional reserve aspect more.
You just took that as a note.
I do know that, and when it comes to DeFi and like fractional reserves, it kind of makes it easier in a way for people to own different parts of a reserve, if that makes sense, in a trustless way.
Okay, nice.
And wallet analysis to project the chances of gaining governance. Yes, I have mentioned it a couple of times, and I will repeat again. I have checked that we do have sufficient maker within Pulsechain active wallets within the last year, half year. And I'm not including in this calculation ones that have bought maker right before the fork happened. That probably is there for Pulsechain maker governance reasons, because it was sent out after. So if those people who have done that decide to join in, we have a good chance of getting the spell proposed if they judge that whatever is proposed is correct. And the margin for lack of participation is indeed very slim, but if community is able to get together, then we can
Get it back.
get it passed, even without these big wallets.
This was a decent question as well from Anna Maria. So is the 99 Decentralized Me group already working on some of these steps? So we do have voting front end already.
We do not have the voting front end up and ready yet.
They have taken it down.
Yeah, they had taken that side down. But it honestly won't be too hard to make a new one.
Yes.
For that aspect.
Okay.
We have a team of devs that
and I mean,
or anybody else can.
I feel like also whatever message that particular group was sending with other protocols building around it is just catering for steps 2 and 4. So they're them talking about like integrations of Badger DAO, Curve, and Aave. If this happens, is going to essentially offer 2 and 4 opportunities.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, fractional reserve equals not collateralized equals dream on. So, you know,
I mean, we're algo stable people, so we kind of have worked a lot in that field, meaning that there is no collateral backing, but an attempt to have a stable coin be stable. So, I mean, I don't know, through ingenuity and I don't know, I want to say through different mechanics that the users use on can keep it stabilized. It's just not perfected art, and it is it's not easy to do, and it hasn't been perfected yet at all. But it is honestly, it is an important field in DeFi because one problem with collateralized stablecoins is that you're going to be reliant on the collateral to keep it stable. USDC, for example, is backed by fiat. If fiat goes down, so does USDC. And the whole point of Bitcoin, for example, was to break away from the whole fiat currency. If you're backed by fiat, then you're not really, you know, breaking away from the whole fiat economy, essentially. So I think the perfect way to do that in a way is through an algorithmic way.
Yeah,
but that is
I feel like that there's like a big criticism against that concept because it's kind of like leading to the ruination of the financial system. But if you can affect the logic of it, then
actually I've just looked it up. So fractional stable coin, it's just a stable coin that has a collateralization ratio of less than or equal to 100%, which I guess does address the current situation of DAI on the maker.
A good example actually of one, now I think about it, is MIM, or Magic Internet Money, from Abracadabra Finance. They have a lending protocol where you can lend tokens and then mint their stablecoin. And they also have an algorithmic aspect to it where you can always, if MIM goes underneath the dollar, you can always return that MIM for a $1 value. Meaning that if it goes under peg, people are going to scoop that up because it's cheaper and then return it back for $1 value, thus then regaining that peg.
This is a good point too as well.
If the OA owns 50 to 70% of pDAI, then there is no need to back their holding as they won't sell.
Sure.
Sure.
Didn't the OA dump their pDAI?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know if the OA dumped all the pDAI, but I'm pretty sure the OA had like hundreds of millions of pDAI that ended up getting dumped a few weeks ago.
Yep, and they broke liquidity.
And for example, even if 5996 chooses to buy like 50% or 70% of DAI off the market and send it to the OA, for example, that can be, in a way, recollection of DAI, assuming they are connected.
But in reality, that's just a reserve that is useless in a way. It'll be just as useful as being sent to a burn address as long as the OA doesn't sell it.
Okay. Perhaps the influencer with the biggest reach in the chain attempts to align the wallet holders of Maker into talks. Would that be a logical step? Communication.
Yes, most
Absolutely.
definitely. And I mean, as long as community is on the same page with everyone, and we have influencers or whoever has the reach communicated out, we can align people. They can align people.
Getting everybody aligned is, yeah, it's going to be hard, I would imagine.
I actually think that in the whole fixing or whatever of pDAI, aligning the community together is indeed the biggest challenge to overcome, and that's the toughest step, because code can be written in a week or two if people know their stuff they're doing, but aligning the community might take a long while.
It does seem tough, but I think, we all have the same vision and the end goal, and that is, the success of pDAI.
Yeah.
So I think with that on the table, we can all at least come to an agreement.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think even if you're not pro pDAI, I think there's still a lot of people that have like a just in case bag, but nobody wants to go against what Richard has said about an extractor.
Yes. But also, again, if we refer to those that are not believing in pDAI, like a perfect example was what Bud just brought before, because hexagons and pDAI people have been separated before. But if hexagons will see fixed pDAI as a solution to a problem they had with T-shares, it's going to unite those communities together. So eventually we might end up seeing growth.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we might just on this one, Anna Maria. So it's burnt. So
it's burned in LP. Yeah.
It's burned in an LP.
I think
yeah.
all the pDAI that he owns.
This has almost been 3 hours. Holy wow. Doesn't feel like that at all. Wow. Yeah. Is there anything either of you want to close up on before we finish the stream?
We just we ask people to participate. We need more eyes on the current spell that we have laid out. We need more discussions on it. We need more feedback on it. We want you all to participate. We don't want to do all the work. I mean, even if we mess up on it, like we want to see that it's messed up before it even goes into play. We need criticism on it. So we're just asking
in order to do that, though, we need to understand it. So we need to kind of
we do need to take steps to educate a little bit more before we can even get to that aspect.
Yes.
So maybe we need to have another stream, or like I can help you with some videos explaining the contractual side of things. I don't know.
Yes,
we can talk about
you can also benefit yourself, because I know you've been keen on learning and you have progressed a lot. Being able to read messages and now having contracts open and seeing the vaults yourself, and I'm very happy to see your progress, Steven.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been pretty exciting, I must admit. I mean, I used Claude, so it wasn't all that hard, but it was cool to just debug it and have this thing running and reading all the messages. I was like, wow, I'm a little hacker here, so it's been fun. So I might not build any sort of I might not build a stable coin or anything, but it would be cool just to put your little piece into Pulsechain of building something and just becoming a part of the building side of things and being someone that could contribute in some small little way, however small that might be. So I appreciate that. Thank you. This has been extremely enjoyable, actually. So thank you both so much for coming on and clarifying. And I think it's going to hopefully put a lot of minds at ease and really start to like bridge the gap between the two sides of the community. I feel it really has. I feel like the contradiction of the exploiter is kind of resolved with what you guys are proposing. So I'm really happy and I feel really calm and really at ease, actually. So any final statements before we finish up?
I like that comment of Alex. The community coming together is the best thing for everyone, and we can all grow back together stronger. I do think this is a very good statement to end the stream on, because I think that's the main goal right now.
Absolutely. I agree. That's beautiful. Surfacing, any last comments?
Nope, I think that sums it up.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you both so much. Thank you, everyone, for all the comments. Thank you for sticking around. Share this around. Let's really help educate people in the community about this. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yep.